Well, hello everyone and welcome in. My name's Rick Ferrin coming to you from the hub of the universe up here in Boston, Massachusetts, and we're so glad you're on with us today. And we have a lot to talk about today. We really, really do. I mean, this is one of the biggest weeks that we had here at the Six Screens. So much that's been going on. And I wanted to be able to talk a little bit more about that killing, the shooting over in Germany with the Jehovah's Witnesses in a Kingdom Hall over there. So I'm really glad you guys could make it on with us. And we're looking forward now to having a program today. And we got more programs coming up after this. But anyways, let's get right to it. Let me just get my notes out here and let's scroll down. I'm sure everyone now has heard. I don't think there's anyone in this broadcast that hasn't heard. It's been all over the news here for the last 4 or 5 days. But anyways, it happened on March 9th. March 9th at 9 o'clock over in Germany. There was a Kingdom Hall shooting. 36 publishers were present in the hall, and another 25 were on Zoom. Well, thank goodness for Zoom. It probably saved another 10, 12 lives. Who knows? But we do know, what we do know is that 8 people have died. And there are some seriously injured right now in the hospital. So not a very pleasant thing. And what really made me sad and made a lot of the people sad is the fact that there was a woman, a young, I suppose she was young, I feel, she was pregnant. And the killer actually put a bullet right through her stomach and killed the baby. So that was sad when I heard that. And friends, I want you to realize this too. It's been a sad week. People were calling in last week. I'm even feeling a little down myself. That was a very discouraging situation that happened over there in Germany. I think all of us could relate to that, right? Boy, we sat in Kingdom Halls. We never thought there'd be an intruder like that. And they were just there. And all of a sudden, bing, bang, boom, shots started coming through the window. And 8 people, including the shooter, who we will identify him. And he also at one time was a Jehovah's Witness. And we'll get a little bit into him in just a little bit. But I'm going to play a video. I will play a video here for those watching on YouTube and Facebook. You'll see it. This video is a little bit disturbing. So, if you have a hard time with this, you're a little faint at heart, you might be best just to walk away for a few minutes. But I'm going to play a video. Now, what this is, there was a man across the street, and he was in an apartment building across the street on his balcony, from what I can see by the filming, and he was taking pictures of the Kingdom Hall. Now, he noticed this man, a silhouette of a man who was dark out, climbing up the side of the stairs of the building. It's not quite sure in the film, but he was taking video of him. And then the man smashed open a window and started shooting the Jehovah's Witnesses inside the Kingdom Hall. I'll tell you, it's frightening, but it's kind of grainy, but you'll hear some German people speaking in the background. So let's see if we can't get that picture up. I'll tell you what, I've got a lot of footage here we'll share with you today. We'll talk about some of these things, but I know that, what the reason why we're doing this is I want to really alert Jehovah's Witnesses. I want to alert them that they are now entering a new situation. Being a Jehovah's Witness today is very dangerous, and that's a fact. And the reason why I even want to talk about this, and we've been talking about it right along, is the fact that I want the witnesses to hear this, because they're going to be sitting ducks. This is going to happen again. As a matter of fact, information I got coming into the Six Screens today is kind of suggesting this may happen again. So I'm giving the Jehovah's Witnesses who are still going to meetings, you tell them you want to stay on Zoom, because there's going to be some copycat Kingdom Hall shootings coming up. Now, I'm not saying that to be sensational or to over amplify things here. I'm not doing that at all. But I figure it's my duty for those that are listening in and going to Kingdom Halls, and even if you have relatives going, try to let them be aware that You'll want to take this very seriously. I'm going to share this video with you right now. This is the video of the man who was across the street taking video. Take a look, listen in, see what you think. All right. You can hear some gunshots going off in the background.
Wieder irgendwie. Was geht hier ab in Winterhude? Mark.
It's showing the police are now arriving. They were right near there, by the way. The police were right near there.
Ich wollte da gerade sogar noch hinfahren. Ich bin Anwohner hier oben.
It's actually showing that there's the young man that took the picture. He looks like he's probably in his 20s. But the picture was showing, if you guys did show a little bit of it, was a person on the side of the building smashing the window open. You're probably very hard to see it. It was kind of small, but he's coming on talking about it. The thing was, the police were right in the area. There was a tactical police force right in the area at the time this happened. And boy, it's good because I'm sure they stopped them from killing more Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, there's a picture you can see on the video right now. You can see tactical police there in Germany in front of the King Hall, and you have to get to those people as well. Job, and you know, they get to a scene and they got to make quick split decisions. So, you know, say they did a really good job in this. It could have been a lot more killed. And now you know you are seeing people in the hall, and what a frightening that must have been. So stop that video right there. But let me just explain something here as well. I want you to just do this. Well, what I want you to do is I want you just to visualize yourself sitting in a kingdom hall. This is going to be frightening when you hear it, but I want you to just visualize yourself sitting in a kingdom hall, and then I want you to just hear this. Now, what would you do if you're sitting in a kingdom hall and all of a sudden a window breaks and this is what you hear? That is frightening. So imagine what it would have been like. You know, friends, there's scary moments in life, but that would be so scary for those poor people. They're going to be traumatized, many of them, for the rest of their life. But I have to really tell you that it's a sad day in Germany, and we're going to play some tape here near the end of the day, near the end of this broadcast, and we'll give you an idea of what's going on in Germany as of today and yesterday. But anyways, the killer. Well, who was the killer? Who was this man? Well, his name was Philip. I'm going to put a picture up for you. His name is Philip. As a matter of fact, a German name, Fuess. Fuess. I heard one poor person announce it as Fuessi, and maybe that's how they pronounce it, Fuessi, because of the Z. But we'll go here in English as close as I can come to is Philip Fuess. He was the perpetrator. He at one time was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. He had an evangelical upbringing. He was an academic. He had a professional background in finance, and he joined the Jehovah's Witnesses a few years back. Now, he was a troubled man in the sense that he lost his financial business during the pandemic, the COVID pandemic. And what happened is he really flipped out he got really super spiritual and really got into the Bible, but crazy ways of thinking. And I'll give you an idea why I'm saying that. In December of 2022, he self-published a book on Amazon with theological views that really were contrary to the Watchtower. So let me just reverse here a little bit and give you an idea, go backward. About 18 months ago, 18 months ago, Philip Fuse left the Jehovah's Witness organization. He did a fade. We know what that is, right? They fade away. So Philip faded away from the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they didn't really come after him. They didn't do much to him. They just figured he'd let him go. But what got the elders a little uptight is when they saw the book that he self-published on Amazon, and it had the theological views that differed from the Watchtower. The name of the book that he wrote, it's called The Truth About God, Jesus Christ, and Satan. Now, don't bother looking it up on Amazon, because they took it down yesterday. I got in there to try to get it, and I couldn't get it. I wanted to at least read a little bit about it, but I was able to capture some information. There was a synopsis of what the book was about. Now, listen to this. This man had some serious problems. He's writing the synopsis himself. This book is a standard reference when it comes to theology and law. This book is a must-read for all persons who hold a function of leading positions in fields of economy, science, politics, and entertainment, and also for religious persons. So I'm going to get into the book here a little bit more and show you some of the crazy stuff that he actually wrote in the book. So let's go into that a little bit different. I mean, I'm calling this man, as well as the news media is calling Philip Fuse, they're calling him a deeply disturbed individual with an oversized notion of himself. Yeah, that this guy, he really thought he was something else. As a matter of fact, in the book, in the foreword, it talks about this is a new standard book next to the Bible and the Quran. I mean, how can you make a statement like that? But Philip was willing to. He's saying that this is a standard book that you really should have along with the Bible and the Quran. So he had a little bit of a mixture there from Islamic views, I guess, in the Bible. Now, and then he also says that this book will be valid 100 years from now. So he's saying this book is so great that it'll still be around. Isn't that strange, huh? What's being written by this man? Well, he claimed that angels listened to him personally. Furthermore, he wanted to thank his angelic audience, and especially his angelic fans. Did you ever hear that before? Angelic fans? Do you have angelic fans? I mean, I think that's a little presumptuous, isn't it? That you have fans that are angels. So he claimed that he had nightmares. He had prophetic dreams. God revealed himself to him personally. So he got a personal visit from God. And he had these nightmares, and it was really prophetic visions is what he was calling them. And it seemed like he had a close friend with God. I mean, to the point of being right there with God. He claims that the Vietnam War, WW2, WW1, where these were wars that God and Christ were fighting against Satan. He brought out that Russia supposedly invaded Ukraine for Ukrainians to free Ukrainian sex workers. So that's something strange. But here's the strange thing. He actually said that Adolf Hitler was God's instrument. Yeah, now I want you to know something. The German people, not all, I'm not going to make a blanket statement, but the German people, they actually like Hitler. Many till this day. I mean, Hitler came in, he really got their economy was really bad. Hitler came in, straightened it out. A lot of people, they loved Adolf Hitler. So he's claiming that God also loved Adolf Hitler. I don't believe that. I mean, I don't know how far he's expecting this book to go. But now here's what probably got him in trouble with the Watchtower. He never called in the book Philip Fuse, former Jehovah's Witness author. In the book, he called God, he never called God Jehovah. He never called God Jehovah in the book. He only used Yahweh one single time. He claimed that Satan was the second place after God in the universe until Jesus' earthly mission. Well, this contradicts really what the Watchtower theology says. Watchtower theology says Jehovah created Jesus first and then created everything else, including angels and Satan, making the Logos, Jesus, the firstborn since the beginning, not Satan. So, the elders are reading this book, and I mean, this is when they're starting to get a little itchy, right? Wouldn't you? I mean, this is contrary to what Watchtower teaches. He believes in the cross. The Watchtower doesn't believe in the cross. He claims God's direction on a higher level than the governing body. Well, the governing body, I mean, that must have really turned their stomachs. They claim to be God's spokesman on the planet. They are the only spokesman. But here we got Philip. He's saying that, no, God's direction is a way higher level than the governing body. So this just got him in trouble. That's why he was disfellowshipped. So just to reiterate, so you know where we're coming from. He's the shooter. I should say alleged. I mean, but it's pretty much so. It's all over the papers. He's the shooter. I don't know who else it would be. You see a guy laying in the hallway with a rifle. I mean, what else are you gonna think? I don't think someone put it in his hands. But anyways, the point that I wanted to make here is, like I said, he walked away about 18 months earlier, and the Witness organization didn't do a thing to him. But now, because he wrote that book, that seemed to be what did it. In just the beginning of March, I don't know what day, but I would say the beginning had to be the 1st, 2nd, 3rd of March, perhaps. He had a meeting with the elders. He had a judicial committee meeting, and they told him that he's no longer going to be a Jehovah's Witness, and he's been disfellowshipped. So it was going to be announced on March 9th, the night that the witnesses were shot. So when do they usually announce a disfellowshipping? Yes, at the end of the program. It was 9 o'clock. The meeting was just wrapping up. As a matter of fact, according to the reports I get in today, the witnesses just finished singing the song and prayer. And of course, his announcement was made that he's no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And they would just finish the prayer and song. They were just getting up, and this guy breaks the window and shoots them all. I'm telling you, it could have been a lot worse. So it's something else when you think about it. I mean, many on the 6 screens last night, we had a special report on it the other day. Many were calling in and giving their thoughts. Now, this man was mentally ill. Did the Watchtower send him over the edge? That would be the question. It's hard to say, but when you're shunned, and I used the example the other day, if there's a rat and you got a rat cornered, do you ever see those big river rats? I mean, they're big. They're as big as a cat. And you corner one of those river rats and you kind of, got him in the corner, he's gonna lurch out at you. That's what happens in the world we live in, friends. I believe Philip Fuse here was put in the corner. He was disfellowshipped and he came back for revenge. Now, I never, ever, ever would encourage anybody to do that. That is an act of murder, mayhem. It's bad. And this man did it. And the cops arrived at the scene pretty much after he started firing. They were in the vicinity, like I say. And there they found Philip. They found his lifeless body in the community center. It was in, some say the community center, some say in the hallway, but wherever it was, the police found the body of Philip. And of course, they're accusing him as the perpetrator. Now, they thought at the time there may have even been another perpetrator. So the police, they don't know. They put yourself in the police position. You go into, you see it on TV when churches are shot up by bullets, people in the churches and schools. The police don't know. I mean, afterwards, yeah, they get all the facts. But just imagine being a policeman, a woman, because there wasn't even a woman policewoman there going into the building. But imagine that. Imagine going in, you hear gunshots, and you don't know what you're going to face. Is it one shooter, 2 shooters? So, I give our I really do give our utmost appreciation for the police. And then the witnesses, too, have said that. I'm glad for that. The Jehovah's Witnesses themselves have acknowledged the good police work. I'm going to play you a clip here from CBS. Now, this is really making the rounds. This is pretty much all over. Well, that's Philip. I'm going to hide him now and bring me back. But that's the perpetrator. I just pull his picture down. But I'm going to bring up here a clip. Now, this is from CBS right here in America, not CBS London or CBS Europe. This is CBS right here in United States. It was their morning program. You might even watch it yourself. You might even seen it yourself. But again, they gave some kind of like updated information. So I want you to see this. And I'm going to get this up so we can see it. Make sure that we are right here. So let's play this clip, and it's nice and clear, so you'll be able to hear the woman talking here, and you'll be able to hear it on our radio network as well. But this is CBS. It came on, I believe it was Friday or Saturday morning. It had to be, in this case, was Friday morning. It would have been the morning after the killings. So let's get this on right now, and I'm going to share it. Let's start it. Hold on one second. I just got to get the volume. Just give me a second. Gonna go nice and slow. Let me get the volume up to hear the. Yeah, for some reason, just give us a second here. We'll get the volume up. It always does this to me, and it drives me nuts at times. But here with us, just don't go anywhere. We'll find out where is the volume. You know, all of these different clips I put up, they have different volume settings, and where is the volume? All right, well, it's CBS News, and I did want you to see this. I'm not going to stop here until I find it, though. I really want you to hear this. So why don't I see the volume? Where is the volume? Okay, here's the volume. Here, let's go back, and I'm beginning, and then I'm going to put the volume on so you can hear what this woman's saying. It's
turn the weapon on himself. There must have been at least 25 shots, says the witness who filmed the.
Hold on one second.
Are still searching after a gunman stormed a Jehovah's Witness meeting hall and killed 6 people. It happened in Hamburg, the country's second largest city. Gambler Olaf Scholz, former mayor, called the attack a brutal act of violence. Chris Livesay is there with the latest.
Good morning. We're here outside the Jehovah's Witnesses Kingdom Hall, the scene of the shooting, an extremely rare event in a country where gun laws are strict. But according to the German government, they're not strict enough.
Police storm the House of Police turn the weapon on himself. There must have been at least 25 shots, says the witness who filmed the attack. After the police arrived, there were no shots for about 5 minutes. Then there was another shot. What started as a Bible study ended in a bloodbath. One pregnant woman survived, but the baby she was expecting did not. Killed by someone the congregation once considered a brother. Police say the suspect, the former member, but it's for 3 people. Also in accordance with a shootout out a handgun. Officials say he was licensed to own it. Last month, police say they visited the 35-year-old after receiving an anonymous tip that he was dangerously unstable. However, they could not determine mental illness and left him only with a warning for improperly storing ammunition. Guns must be banned, local resident Zarnitz tells us. You don't write love letters with pistols. Just look at America.
You can hear Germans are calling for action. The German Interior Minister was here on the scene and is now calling for even stricter gun laws. There's a draft bill currently in the works to make a ticket a gun. CBS Senator Kristen Hum.
Well, there you go. I do believe that people all around the world have seen this. Witnesses are really showing up on the news a lot lately. Everywhere you look, every time you turn around, in Pennsylvania, states, governments, countries, they're all looking into the Jehovah's Witnesses. And this incident too is going to get Germany as well as other countries to look into Jehovah's Witnesses when it comes to shunning. I do believe that's going to come up in the context of their putting pieces of the puzzle together. Because what they do, what all murder scenes are like, they tape it all off. They put the caution tape up. They look for the weapon, which they found. And then the next thing they're trying to understand is what would be the motive. They want to know what the motive. They look at when there's a murder, psychiatrists, psychologists, people who study human behavior, they want to know what would cause a person to do this. It's not unusual. When a plane crashes, the FAA comes out and they examine every piece of the plane. They want to know why it crashed. Well, it's the same thing here in murder. They want to know what would cause a person to do this. You hear it all the time when these shootings take place. So in this particular case, they're going to find out, and they're already announcing it. He mentioned it there in the news, and I've been coming across news articles that are saying that this man just said on CBS, he was one time associated with the witnesses, but turned to not want to be one anymore. And it's going to come out that he was discriminated against. He was shunned. I'm not saying that's what did this. I'm not, but I think you're thinking it, right? And I'm thinking it too, but I can't say for sure. Maybe it could be something else. Maybe he was a witness in the hall that he hated. He just wanted to bump him out. He bumped some other people out in the process. I'm sure it'll all come out, but I'm leaning toward this man snapped. He snapped because of the undue pressure of being disfellowshipped. So that's my feelings on it. Now, I did hop on the jw.org website, and I wanted to see what they had to say about it. Now, not too much, but at least they did say something. So according to the website, there were 6 congregations that actually met in that Kingdom Hall. I'm going to put a picture of the hall up so you'll see it. That's what the Kingdom Hall looks like. Now, that's a 3-story building. And evidently there were 6 congregations that met there. The Croatian, the Romanian, the Twi, the Tagalog, English, and German. Of course, it was the German congregation that he targeted. So anyways, they did mention that. And I'll read you the end of our newscast here, what they had to say on their website in wishing their condolences, but we'll get into that near the end. So we do know that this is a very sad story. Nobody deserves to die, especially when you gathered peacefully. I mean, when you stop and think about it, and friends, we've talked about this a million times before. I had so many Jehovah's Witness friends that they won't talk to me now. I mean, I'm not going to go out and shoot up a Kingdom Hall. But people do get ticked off. But the point I wanted to make, they were there just peacefully. They were gathering for community worship, you could say, even though we may question their worshiping practices. But nonetheless, it's not even for us to listen. People can believe in what they want, but when people get hurt, that's the problem. And that's what I was even thinking. Now, there could also be repercussions from these injured ones that have been sent off to the hospital. But I did get word, and I'm going to read this news report to you that just came here today, that there are injured ones in the hospital in Germany. And evidently he was the branch overseer or some high up official of the Watchtower in Germany. And he was talking to the news media. And he told them that there were a few people, I forget how many he said, but numerous people that were in the hospital, Jehovah's Witnesses. He said they're all going to recover. And he did bring up the fact, he says they're going to recover even without the blood. So it's interesting he brought that up, because I think he was trying to divert attention, because that's the first thing that, any known person who knows a lot about Jehovah's Witnesses that might be reported. That's what they're going to ask. Well, what about the blood issue? So they still could be losing some people because of refusing blood, but only time will come, and we hope that's not the case. But you can see the Watchtower here is in a pickle. At first, I mean, no one's gonna beat them up. No one's gonna really even chastise them. But as the dust settles, all of a sudden inquiries will come in. The Watchtower is gonna create a problem for the Watchtower, not only for the outside world as they get an inside peek at Jehovah's Witnesses, but it's also going to cause a problem for the Jehovah's Witnesses themselves. And you say, well, why? Well, what do you mean by that, Rick? Well, it's going to cause a problem for the Jehovah's Witnesses themselves, because what happens in this particular case is a lot of the witnesses are not wanting to go to the meetings. Really, after this happened, would you want to go to a meeting? Even I'll tell you what, even in this country right now, when I had my 5 children, I would be a little hesitant hearing this. I'd stay on Zoom. So this seems to be what is going to take place. After people get shot up like that, do you want to be put in a position like that? Absolutely not. So it's going to create an issue for the Jehovah's Witnesses in that respect, and also in another respect. It's going to get the witnesses. Don't you think witnesses would? I know what they're saying now. The man was nutty. And I'm even saying he was nutty, but that's fine. I believe anybody that goes and shoots anybody has to be nutty. But what really is the underlying cause? I'm sure some of the witnesses will speak about that, and they're going to think about some of their friends that they've shunned. They're going to think about some of their relatives that they haven't spoken to and have treated like dirt for the last 15, 20 years. So this has got to. You don't want to regurgitate this cynicism and negativism, but that's going to automatically come up. It's going to regurgitate, and there's going to be many witnesses asking questions. Well, not right now. The dust has got to settle, but there will be many asking questions. So, and why I even bring this up is because, friends, we do JW World News here every Saturday night and every other Sunday. And the other issue that comes to play, it has to do with Norway. Are you familiar with what's going on in the country of Norway right now with the Jehovah's Witnesses? In Norway, there was a young man that went to the Norwegian government. In fact, a number of people, not just young men, but women as well, went to the Norwegian government and said, hey, look it, we were Jehovah's Witnesses and now we're being shunned. And they got the Norwegian government's attention on the turmoil that it caused in their life. So the Norwegian government said, okay, if that's what they're doing, we're going to take their charity money away. In Norway, the Jehovah's Witnesses get approximately $2 million a year for the witnesses in Norway. They give in Europe, they give money to church people, to organizations. They don't do it here, we know, but over there they do. So anyways, the Watchtower said, hey, we don't want you to do that. We don't really shun people. We don't hurt people. Well, I mean, how's Norway going to look at this now? I mean, the Watchtower's been trying to fight and get their money back. But Norway's going to look at this and say, hey, not so fast. Look what happened in Germany. It's not too far from Norway, right? All right, so there you have it. But just to give you an idea, you say, well, how many Jehovah's Witnesses are there in Germany to begin with? Well, if you go back to the days of Rutherford, now they had a German Bethel, and some of you folks probably even read about it in Watchtower Slave. That's a book by William Snell, former Jehovah's Witness. And there was a Bethel, I believe they still have it. It's in Magdeburg, Germany. Now, in Rutherford's day, Germany had the second most amount of witnesses. United States was first and Germany was second. I don't know where they fit in today, but I don't think they're number 2. I think that England has more than Germany, but I'm not sure on that. But what I do know is that Germany right now has this 175,000 Jehovah's Witnesses in Germany. And they have 900 Kingdom Halls. So, it's not there's a lot of witnesses there, 175,000, 900 Kingdom Halls. But another thing I saw on one of the newscasts that came through, which was kind of interesting, is, you see Christians, so to speak, mostly the Spanish people, people in America have got used to putting like candles. If a person died in a car crash, they put a cross up, they light candles, and they put little teddy bears and flowers and what have you. Well, this is something that went on right in front of that Kingdom Hall. And I don't know if it was just the people in the neighborhood that did it or whether it was witnesses, but they did like a little memorial outside the Kingdom Hall, which was kind of interesting. I'm just going to read you another thing. I'm going to open up the lines and we can talk a little bit. But the information, I want to read this to you, and it's concerning information came in today. We now learn that all Kingdom Hall meetings have been canceled in Hamburg. It doesn't say all of Germany, but after the deadly shooting, the Kingdom Halls are going to be closed for the time being. They're talking about the attack took place, and then the police, and this is what got my attention and why I'm kind of putting a little warning out there to people who are still in that organization and attending Kingdom Halls. The police told the elders that they cannot rule out the possibility of a so-called copycat attack. Yeah. So this man, his name is Michael Safaridis. Michael Safaridis. Well, he's speaking for the community. I believe he's a Bethel person from the headquarters over there in Germany. He's smartly dressed. It's not in a video, but it's a newspaper article I'm reading. Just smartly dressed man in a business suit, and he looks exhausted. He really is. It's very clear that this elder is deeply shaken. He really is. He had friends who were directly killed in the attack. He spent Thursday night with the survivors in the hospital. He comforted relatives, and he was in the emergency room as well with some of these people that were hit. But I just want to get to the point where he did mention about the hospital and the use of no blood. The community, just kind of thumb through this. Well, he did mention here, I can't find specifically where he said it, but here he said right here, he says the uppermost thoughts are with the people that are still in the hospital and injured. And he adamantly said that the lives of the injured Jehovah's Witnesses is not compromised by a refusal to accept blood transfusions. And it says Jehovah's Witnesses believe that God forbids this. So see, there's some adverse press right there. He's adamant about it because I guess he must have been being questioned, must have been being interrogated about it to some degree. He was adamant and said that none of the lives are compromised by the refusal of blood. So anyways, that's basically what's going on here. So I'm going to open the lines if someone wants to come in and say hello. You got any thoughts? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you mentioned about his book, and I found it because I thought this the other day. I was wondering, well, it's Germany. Could it be like a neo-Nazi thing? But you mentioned he was a fan of Hitler, and we know, Adolf Hitler said that he would exterminate Jehovah's Witnesses in Germany. So if he was a fan of Hitler, maybe that had something to do with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what it is. They cut him slack, Mike. He just left. He just left and kind of just faded away, and they never probably would have bothered him.
Right. Well, I think, Rick, too, the Shining thing, okay, because him leaving like that, as you call it, fading, sounds to me like he didn't want to associate with these people anyway. And you also brought out that he wasn't raised a witness, so maybe he didn't really have a lot of family members in the Kingdom Hall. So, obviously the man was crazy, but, it's, I guess anything we think is just speculation. You'll never understand a mind of a crazy person, but But anyway, well, now like you mentioned Germany, all the Bible students there, I always found it interesting if you read Snell's book, and this is true, that a lot of the changes in the organization that Rutherford wanted to bring out, he actually it brought him forth first in Germany, because in Germany people are more apt to listen to authority. Americans being a little bit more independent-minded. Snell brought that out in his book because he was in Germany and then he came to the United States. The watchtower of the organization wasn't the same.
Right.
It was a lot more authoritative in Germany than it was here in America.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mike. I tell you all the time, you're a great watchtower historian. Well, thank you, Mike. Thank you very much for coming in and giving your thoughts on it. Go ahead. Go ahead, Zachary. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Zachary. I don't know anything about this, only what I've heard here. So I'm not trying to add any additional information. Do I understand that he was supposed to be disfellowshipped that night?
Yes.
They were going to make the announcement. Okay. What I've been hearing is that I've been hearing many people say the announcement at the end of the meeting. That's the way it was in earlier days, but I think sometime in the 80s or 90s, they changed the announcement to the middle of the meeting because they said that it causes the meeting to end on a negative note. So they put it up in the middle of the meeting, closer to when other announcements are made. So that congregation, if he was disfellowshipped that night, that congregation had already heard that announcement. I would think they already knew that night that he had gotten disfellowshipped.
Yeah, well, that's what some of the people were speculating, even in the newspapers, that he went there because it was going to be announced he was disfellowshipped. So he got there right around 9 o'clock when they normally would do it. Maybe still in Germany, they still do it then. But it was sad. I mean, but he was disfellowshipped, and he also got killed the same night himself. Jeez, terrible.
Wow.
Terrible.
And, the thing about him already having faded away, the elders, if it was 18 months, if it's that long, there were provisions in the Green Flock book, the one that came out in '84 and was replaced around 2010. Provisions for a person who had left the organization, wasn't really having contact with witnesses. They didn't look at the faithful and discreet slave as God's, being of God. If that person committed a gross sin, they didn't have to really meet with that person in a judicial meeting. So if he's already gone and they found that he wrote a book, they really didn't have to disfellowship him.
Well, I'm sure it was up to the body of elders, but the book wasn't in any way in sync with Watchtower teachings, and that's all you need. That if you want to get the Watchtower ticked off, I was disfellowshipped, Zach. I wasn't disfellowshipped because I was protesting in front of a Kingdom Hall. My official disfellowshipping paperwork states that I was disfellowshipped for starting my own religion. I wasn't trying to start any religion. I had a little Bible study with some people that left the Watchtower. But that's what they got me for. Yeah, and that's something. Yeah. Anytime you come against their teachings, that's it. You're a dead duck. Yeah. Well, thank you, Zach. Thank you very much. Who wants to come in? Thank you, Zach. All right, who wants to come in and say hello to us? Go ahead. You're on JW World News.
Good morning, Rick.
Yes, Dick. In fact, let Pixie go first. We'll let Pixie go in first. And then come right back in. Go
I
ahead.
hope everybody's having a good Sunday and everybody's having some spring candy. I want to thank you, Rick, for that good coverage. And I'm so glad that those people that were shot lived. The first woman that was shot in her car got to the hospital early so that the EMT people were there within 3 minutes. And the pressure on wounds and things, that must have made a big difference. So I don't usually take a story home, but this one really was something. So thank you for the great coverage yesterday and today.
Well, thank you, Pixie. Appreciate you coming in too and saying hello to us. Thank you, Pixie. Dick, what do you have to say, buddy?
Yeah, well, Pixie just stole some of my thunder. But I would also like to add, last month on Six Screens, we talked about that brother that was shot to death in his car. waiting for the service group to come back. And we talked about Jehovah's protecting angels, going to protect people out in field service and so forth. And you mentioned that story about the young sister that goes to the door, and they were going to, these two guys are going to pull her in and rape her and all this stuff. But one of the two men perpetrators said, well, did you see the big man behind him, behind her? And so the idea being that Jehovah was protecting his people out in the field ministry. Well, that guy gets gunned down, and now, D6 or 7 are gunned down in the Kingdom Hall. Where was Jehovah's protecting angels then? Thank you, Rick.
Well, that's a question, Dick, a lot of are asking. I do believe the witnesses took it to the nth degree. I mean, all of us as Christians, if we do walk a Christian life, we all like to really believe that God is really with us and he's going to protect us all the time, but that's not always the case. It's not. Good people die. But the sign on the church, I mentioned it last night, it's a sign that I've always admired and liked. I took a picture of it, an old Baptist church up here in Massachusetts, and it said, God may not stop the storm, but he can get you through the storm. So that's what you have to do. God can get us through. Sometimes the strife and the difficulties we have, we don't think we're, even you, Dick, at one point, you never thought you were going to be able to be a happy man again, did you?
No, I didn't. And it wasn't for you, Rick. I'd still be in the doldrums. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And of course, you became a Christian, and that gave you good feelings too, Dick, and I'm proud of you. So there you go. I mean, what you do is you put 2 and 2 together. But the Jehovah's Witnesses, they would always give you these urban myths. There were so many urban myths. I remember one that, this woman was walking up to a door, and all of a sudden the gate opened and a big pit bull came out of the backyard and was going to rip the woman apart. But then he just lunged at her and he stopped. He stopped and he just froze. And the householder said that, wow, my dog, he thought he was going to attack the woman, but there was someone standing next to the woman that stopped the dog, evidently referring to an angel. You hear these urban myths. I mean, and as witnesses, we kind of believe them all. But, there's plenty of people, witnesses, that get bit by dogs. I'll tell you that right now. Some of the angels were, I guess they must have took a coffee break when that happened. Well, we're on JW World News. If you'd like to speak up, we got a few minutes before we go to the Christian court. My goodness, what a program we got coming up. If you'd like to speak up, what do you think? What do you think was going on in the mind of this man killing all these witnesses? Jeez. Terrible.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, so in the book of Luke, chapter 10, verse 7, it says, do not go house to house. And part and parcel with everything else about the witness doctrine, it's a law of opposites. They're doing everything the opposite a church would do, and they are looking for the fall of Christendom. It seems to be a ploy of the occult, and we know it's a Hollywood pipeline organization. And the structure of it seems to be a subtle but effective mind control operation. If you ever look up Kabbalah, which is the Kabbalah is the tarot card, which has the watchtower and other tarot cards. It's about divination. Divining the future is always in scripture, from Balaam blessing Israel to Haman casting lots to decide when to attack the Israelites in the book of Esther, to Solomon and his 666 talents of gold. And when you get to Simon Magus, you're getting to control of Samaria by Magus, meaning magician. He's a sorcerer, and he has an occult network, essentially. This is what Gnosticism comes from. and what Freemasonry carries on today. This is what Charles Taze Russell was involved in, and Joseph Smith, and Elijah Muhammad. They all came out of Masonry with the same kind of Babylonian, Canaanite mind control.
Yeah.
And this is the influence over the spirits. I think that when Paul said they were given over to the worship of the host of heaven, they can use planetary functions demonically to influence us, and it works. And we all know about the zodiac.
Oh yeah, no, we could go on and on with this, but I'll tell you what, I mean, really, I mean, there's many on here that say, wow, this guy is pretty much right on. And then there's some that say, wow, this, he seems knowledgeable, but boy, it's something they haven't heard before. That's why I want to get you on here at least maybe once every month to do a program. And you're a knowledgeable man. You really are. You just amaze me. You just rattle.
I tied into the scriptures. It's not just something I'm pulling out of a hat. It's all in the scriptures. The occult.
Oh yeah.
It's all in the scriptures. We're warned to stay away from it, and it's baked into the Watchtower doctrine on purpose. Because if you're denying a cross and you're praying to a Staros, which is essentially an obelisk, that's what
we got to get you on it so you can really develop this further. But would you please get a hold of me? Write me. Let you and me talk.
Yes,
you and me talk, and we're gonna get you because you have way too much knowledge to keep hidden. We got to get it out. Thank you. All right, we got some more people want to come on. Go ahead, you're on with us.
Hi, Rick. Good morning. This is Constance.
Yes, Constance.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, dear. Hi, Susan. I was going to say, I always love when that caller calls in. I don't know his name, but I recognize that voice. And anyway, I just love his comments, and he sounds like he's a New Yorker. I just love that accent. Anyway, Rick, we know that Watchtower with Charles Taze Russell, was tied in with the occult. There's no doubt about it. 1914 was all set up with that. What I'm about to say might sound, maybe a little bit out there, but like that brother said, when you do study the scriptures and you go in deep, what I'm about to say is not really off the wall. Satan the devil is an absolute copycat. Jesus Christ died for our sins and he sacrificed his blood. Well, Satan is all about imitating what Jesus did. And I think what happened, Rick, with regards to this horrible massacre in the Kingdom Hall back there in Hamburg was an absolute human sacrifice for Satan the devil, because that organization is not run by a loving God by any means. And it's really unfortunate, but the point is that you cannot have people raping children, number one, and then covering it up and saying that you are representing Almighty God and it's a theocratic organization. You have to look at the fruit. The fruit of the organization is it's very demonic, it's very unloving. And this was nothing but a human blood sacrifice. And Satan and the demons are laughing with regards to all this. So thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Constance. Always good to hear from you. My goodness. Well, we get time for one more caller if you want to come in.
If Tim wants to do an interview today or next Sunday, I'm up to put my journalism hat on and let him talk for an hour. Suits you.
I want him to come on and do that. He has a golden voice. I'm going to tell you, in fact, if you're listening, really not to try to embarrass you or anything, but you have a golden voice. You should be, you should be doing movie trailers. Seriously. He could
do voiceovers, but he also has occult wisdom that's beyond what I have even read. So I would love to sit and just guide the interview and let him talk for an hour.
Right. Don't do it.
Right.
No, don't do it. Okay. Who's saying that? I don't know who that was. All right. But anyways, let's move on here. We have got a great program coming up here next. We have got a great program. We have the Christian Court. You gotta listen. You gotta come in and listen to this. Don't head for the mountains because you hear the word Christian. Well, what we do in the Christian Court is very unusual. We have Jay Hess. He's a scholar. He's got the credentials to prove it. And we also have today, we have Scott Walton, who also is a great scholar himself. And they're coming in today on the Christian Court, and they're going to be answering some Christian, I call them peculiarities. We say, what is a Christian peculiarity? Well, you know, it's not it's a non-salvation point, but different denominations, different Christians have feelings on certain issues. So, well, just to give an example, some would say if you go to communion, oh no, I can't drink wine. No alcohol. I have to have grape juice. What would you take? It's a non-salvation point. God isn't going to keep you out of the kingdom because you take grape juice. But anyways, they're going to talk about things like that. And today they're going to be talking about cremation. They're going to be talking about voting and some other issues as well. So why don't you listen in to the Christian Court that's coming up next, right here on the 6 screens. Well, I want to thank everyone for coming in today. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your presence. Appreciate everyone calling in as well. We do want to, pray for the witnesses in Germany. Pray for the relatives. Pray for their friends. They really need it. They're our friends too. They really, really are. Not necessarily. I mean, even we have to pray for them, I suppose, if you want to really get real Christian-like, and really even they need help. That whole organization needs help. So keep that in mind. So we're going to go to the Christian Court. Stay in with us. We're going to end this broadcast. I'm going to skip over to the other studio room, and we'll get right on. So stay in with us for the court.